We are back live, well, sort of live, here at the PMI Global Congress 2013 in New Orleans. And with me is Rich Maltzman. Hello, Rich.
Hello, Cornelius. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I believe you have been on the Project Management Podcast before,
A couple
right?
of times.
Yeah, a couple of times.
It's great to be back.
Yeah. You presented yesterday afternoon on the topic of project management, making ideas into sustainable reality. And Dave Shirley was your co-presenter. Let's do a definition first of all. Sustainable. What does it mean, sustainable?
Sustainable means the ability to last. And we're talking here about lastingness in terms of economics, in terms of people, in terms of ecology. So it's not just about green and saving the planet, although that's a part of it. It's about lasting economic benefits, lasting social benefits for whatever project it is you're working on. And in fact, our talk was in the track called Benefits Realization, which I think was a very good home for it.
All right. And how did it go?
It went really well. I wish we had more people attend. I think we had about 40, and no one walked out.
That's
So
always good.
in that way, it was sustainable. People sustained their seats and I think their attention. And it was a conversation, especially towards the end. We really engaged with people and got some good questions. So we were very happy.
All right. So how do I make ideas into a sustainable reality?
Well, a lot of the talk was about the definition of success and whether or not success is considered to be long-term. As project managers, and you can't see my hands here, but we tend to put blinders on by definition, and for good reason, from start to finish. Project start, project finish. PMI tells us a project has a definitive beginning and end. But does that mean we don't think about what happens to the product, the deliverable of your project over the long term? We don't think so. In fact, we think we sometimes rob ourselves of risk identification. We rob ourselves of stakeholder identification and all kinds of things that if they're not even identified, no chance to improve them and to get benefits and also fight threats that come from those. So that long-term view is a way to bring sustainability thinking into project management. And that's really our core message. Sustainability thinking in project management. It doesn't mean that you have to work on your project for 17 years after you've handed off the deliverable, but why not think about what happens 17 years later? That's going to help you.
Right. And when we talk about sustainability, we focus more on the product itself.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
I suppose there's also a way to actually have your project management done in a sustainable way, but your focus is really more on the product.
Yes. In fact, we introduced a couple of new techniques here, thinking tools. One comes from courtesy of Peter Drucker, and you've probably heard about doing the right things the right way, effectiveness and efficiency. We added a third element to that, which is endurance. So you have effectiveness, efficiency, and endurance, which means you think about doing things the right way, doing things right, but also thinking about them for the longer term.
Who should be interested in this topic?
Well, that's another interesting point because we're also going to be out at the PMO Symposium in San Diego. And we've recently discovered that the message seems to be received better at a program and portfolio level. So by talking and by saying that, I think I mean the PMO. And I've got some experience in that by being involved in a PMO in my main full-time work. So I know that PMOs may have a better, not just appreciation, but a chance to do something about this. Individual project managers tend to be a little cynical. Maybe that explains our 40-person attendance. What can I really do about this? We got a lot of heads shaking when we showed them some specific examples. We gave them an example from Walker's Potato Crisps, a British firm that's now owned by Frito-Lay that makes potato chips. And you just have to be at the session to see this because it's kind of an animated bit we do about the manufacture of potato chips. Bottom line, it involves getting water out of the process because what was happening is that the company was basically shipping water back and forth. And when they looked at their process, they found a way to get that water out and make a tastier potato chip and much, much more efficient manufacturing process. We got a lot of head shaking there, but it's hard to get project managers to buy into this because we're already constrained. We have scope. We have quality, we have cost, we have risk, we have time. We don't want another constraint. And we sometimes get some strong pushback from people. Why are you giving me yet another constraint? We're trying to tell you, no, it's a benefit. We're helping you show how your product, that project's product, have a longer term positive impact on the company, and also staying more true to probably what your leaders are saying to the world on their websites about their sustainability efforts. We challenged each individual to go back to their company's webpage, go to the About Us section, and look for their commitments to the environment, and also look at the photos that are there of butterflies and daisies and windmills and people, living in perfect harmony. That's what they're going to be. That's what they're saying, and that's fine. But we want people, project managers, to take that message back to their projects. And to answer a long, roundabout way of answering your question, the right audience for this may be portfolio managers, program managers, PMO officers, rather than individual project managers. We have to push both.
All right. Many of our listeners are project managers. They have projects that they are working on. I understand you introduced also a wheel of some kind, right? We talked about this yesterday.
Yes. Leave it to us. We reinvented the wheel. There's something we've just come up with, and I won't go through the details here, but basically it's a very simple thinking tool that lets you picture what you can do at the project level to integrate sustainability into your project management practices. And it's an image, and it's in the presentation. So if you download the PowerPoint, you'll see it. But it involves basically starting at a core that's based on respect. And what it means is respect your own company's mission, vision, and values. So that's at the center. And then going out from there are several other words that end in "ect" to help you remember this. So it's, respect, connect, project, connect, and so forth. And I won't go through all of them here. But it's an image that very simply shows how these things relate. Again, starting from the inside and moving outwards to kind of a turning wheel that's sustainable in itself, because there's a cycle here of reevaluating what you're doing and making a continuous improvement. So it's and it's tough for project managers, and we kind of have fun with this one, comedy-wise. Project managers don't do circles well. We don't think about it. We don't do circles. We do squares and triangles, right? We've got the pyramid of portfolios, programs, and projects. We have the triple constraint, which is a pyramid. We have some squares. We do our fair share of 2x2 matrices, but we don't do circles. And the reason is circles are endless and projects aren't. And we have this problem connecting anything that's infinite to our lives, which are start, finish, start, finish, start, finish. So we're trying to extend that, and that's why we had to reinvent the wheel for project managers. They needed a little special assistance in how they roll, if you'll excuse the pun.
I do.
Thank you.
So the wheel is intended as a thinking tool. When I go and talk to my project team, look at my scope, talk to my sponsor, that it gives me an approach that will help me to hopefully develop a product that is more sustainable and more friendly to nature. Yeah, it's usable. It's most effective at the beginning of a project when you're initiating, and it's something that you'd want to have when you're bringing your team together to charter it. I have to watch my New England accent. Charter it. See, I got the R in there. Charter. And the point there is you have this sustainability wheel as a way to illustrate the fact, for example, that we're not just this isolated project in a desert. We work at Nike or at Microsoft or at Patagonia or at PMI. And we're not in isolation. We work within the portfolio of projects for that entity. And let's see what they're up to. Maybe we should see what they're up to. So the center, the core of this, the hub, if you will, of this wheel is about reminding you we should really check to see, are we connected to our company's mission statement? And by the way, more and more, and this is what our research shows, it's not just ours, but Deloitte and MIT, Sloan, and others, proves that companies are, whether they believe in climate change or not, whether they're Greenpeace activists or not, the investment in sustainability at the corporate level is far outreaching what we as project managers seem to believe in when we run our projects. And it's that connection that kind of folds out from the center of this wheel. Okay. You said it is in the slides. It is. Is it, by any chance, also available somewhere on the web that people can take a look at it? We will be, now that we've done it here and introduced it here, we'll start to introduce this through blog posts and symposia and through training that we'll offer as well, because we think this is something that we really want to spread. Okay, and we will make sure that we'll put a link to the wheel into our show notes here. Excellent. Yeah. What is the number one takeaway that you wanted to give to your attendees yesterday at the meeting?
Really that they have a role in this, that there are a lot of people who, what can I do? What can I do as a project manager? And I guess the walkaway message was think long term, and you yourself, by definition, are a change agent. So I guess I cheated and gave you two answers, but it's really those two things. It's that project managers, by definition, wouldn't exist. You would not have a project if you wanted things to remain the same. That's when you get an operations manager, right? To make the ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk to produce the same thing. Project managers are there to upgrade that manufacturing line. That's a project. So remember, you're there as a change agent, and that means you can be the one to bring, for example, an environmental management plan to your company. We asked our group to raise their hand if they knew if their company had an environmental management plan. 2 out of 40 people raised their hands. 2. Okay, the others either they might have it, but they didn't know, or they knew that they didn't have an environmental management plan. And again, this isn't just about save the earth and save the whales and save the snails. It's part of it, but not all of it. All we're saying is if you know you have one, link to it. And if you don't have one, you're a change agent. Go ask for one. So that's one of our walkaway messages.
We're here at a PMI event.
Yes.
How important is sustainability to PMI?
Good question. We've submitted through some brainstorming and crowdsourcing 18 changes for the PMBOK Guide 5th edition. They were not involving a new knowledge area. We know that we do not want to burden people with an entirely new knowledge area. So we had some very significant, very specific paragraph-by-paragraph suggestions. For example, in chartering, does the charter include sustainability? All 18 of those were originally deferred or rejected. Actually, 17 were deferred, 1 was rejected. Deferred means they felt it wasn't enough of a change to put in the 5th edition, maybe the 6th, maybe the 7th, ... We appealed, because there's an appeal process, and we appealed, and one of those changes went in, and this is some more comedy here. The change that went in was our suggestion that the environment was an environmental enterprise factor. And they kind of bought into that on appeal, and yes, so now that's listed as that was a change. So we think the project level has to change, but per our prior conversation, I think we have to fight this, and it's not really the right word, but we need to be change agents at the program and portfolio level. So our next set of proposed changes may come in at the program management, new additions of program and portfolio management.
All right.
Standards.
Since most of our listeners here are project managers who work on projects day in, day out, and you say, well, you are the change agents, you can make it happen. Give us a few ideas. Give us a few steps in which you would suggest that the project managers can go back into their offices tomorrow and apply your ideas on their projects to make their end result more sustainable. Okay,
just do a quick sanity check on your own charters. First of all, do you have a charter? PMI says correctly, and we do agree with 99.5% of what PMI says all the time. I'm a former VP of Professional Development for one of the major chapters, so I'm definitely a believer in PMI. Charters are important. Do a sanity check. Does your charter have anything about the long-lastingness of the product of your project, or does it talk only about the product itself and the project itself? And are you taking advantage of the power you possibly have by connecting your project's charter to any environmental statements that your company is making? And I don't know that we want to get into the detail here, but I've got several examples where people have asked me, I have a choice between option A and option B. Option B is more expensive, maybe by a factor of 2, but it has some really significant sustainability benefits. How do I justify that? And that's my answer, that you go back and you say, who are our stakeholders? Who are we trying to please here? How does this link to mission, vision, and value statements we've made to the public? And we give a couple of examples. Keurig, the Keurig coffee maker is one, where here's a product that has a non-recyclable K-cup as an ongoing outcome of the steady state use of the product. Did that project's charter, which is, by the way, owned by Green Mountain Coffee Company, which has all kinds of great statements on its website about sustainability. How does that product come out and produce 13 billion non-recyclable K-cups that could go from here to the moon and back and are now in landfills? How could they be so disconnected from the company's mission statement? And what ended up happening is, yeah, it's a successful project, and monetarily it's successful, but could they have included some of those statements into the charter that may have perhaps given options to consumers, maybe would have delayed the project a little bit, but they come out with a recyclable K-Cup? Don't know, not in their boardroom, but those are the kinds of tools we want to give project managers to think about.
All right. Thank you very much for your time today, Rich.
You're welcome. Great to be here again. Take care.